So today I'm going to be talking to Reece Land, who used to be a professional footballer and then got into the world of football agent. He set up his own agency and he specialised in women's football after a chance meeting with Arsene Wenger a few years ago. He's got, I think, 70 female footballers listed with him who work throughout Europe. And it was just fascinating talking to him about the different sides of the business, through what sort of how he helps his clients, how he negotiates contracts with them when they transfer to other clubs and so on, and also the sponsorship deals and so on. So, and this show is going to be broadcast on the usual places. So you find it on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also on my podcast, and you can get all the links at keithgriggs.com/show. So I hope you enjoy the show. Right, so morning Reece, it's great to see you. So we spoke briefly yesterday, and you told me that I think you used to be a professional footballer, then you became one of the youngest sports and football agents in the UK, and now you're one of the biggest agents in women's football. So it'd be great to just hear about your story, really, how you got to this point. I mean, at such a young age, you know, well, how you progressed, how you became a professional footballer, and how you came to leave that and became an agent, and what happened after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, Keith, thank you for having me on. So yeah, the journey started where I'd been at a League One club for 12 years. And I'd worked with sort of 2, 3, 4 different agents along this period. And one of my dreams was always to go and play in Spain. Now, the League One club that I was playing at always played 4-4-2.
Okay, so let's just backtrack. So how did you? So you say you became part of? Did you say League One club?
Yes, so I was part of the League One club.
Which was Rotherham, was it, or?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay. So and League One, so you have to forgive my ignorance, but what is that? Because I thought it's like is that Premiership, Premier, Championship, then the next one is League One.
Yeah.
Okay, because in my day it was Division 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So how did you get recruited? So you were like, quite good at school and stuff. So how did you get, join them as part of their youth team? What was?
Yes, I've been there from the age of 6. Honestly,
6?
I can't remember. Yeah, so 6 up until 18.
Wow, I had no idea that they started that young. So
yeah. So it normally starts about 8 years old. So I'd been there from 6.
So how do you get in? So I mean, many people watching this might have, for example, a 6-year-old son and daughter that might want to follow in your footsteps. So how would they go about, becoming, joining something like that?
I think football, Keith, is if you're good enough, there's more than enough people out there watching every single match. So there is no need to rush into anywhere. It's like, say, if you are good enough, people are going to know you, and you are going to gravitate towards a level that you are good enough to play at.
So if you've got a 6-year-old child, so just them playing in their normal sort of school matches, someone will notice them, you think?
I think from the age of 8 years old, 9 years old, there's more than enough scouts out there at Sunday league matches, at school matches, to pick up players. So, like say, if an 8-year-old is standing out against other 8-year-olds, they are going to progress into academies or whichever route they decide to go down.
Okay, and if someone had, like, for instance, a sort of 4 or 5-year-old son, is the best way just to sort of kick around a ball with them in the field, that sort of thing, and teach them basic skills?
Yeah, to be honest, I think when I look at my journey now, I think I don't think there's any need to rush into an academy until you get to maybe 12, 13, 14 years old.
Right.
I don't think there is a necessity to be in there at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
No. Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the more that you learn outside the academy, you learn more about life than what you do in a professional environment. A 7-year-old probably isn't going to appreciate the professional standards. They don't really need that at such a young age, in my opinion.
So you see some people who joined an academy like 12 years old, they later on they outperform other kids who joined, at 6 years.
100%. I know
Okay.
players who haven't played professionally but it's never been in an academy. They've sort of gone through the amateur systems and then
Yeah.
got picked up at sort of 19, 20, 21 years old, if not even older than that.
Okay. So is that what happened to you? So you were just like you sort of naturally good at football. You're like good in the school matches, were you? And then when you were 6 years old, someone sort of discovered you. Is that what happened to you?
Yeah. So I got picked up by Rotherham United. Ended up staying there for 12 years.
Wow.
11, 12 years in total.
So that meant you had like so you just went to school as normal, did you? And then you'd
Yeah,
go like in the evenings, you'd train like
yeah,
every day or something like that with them.
yeah. And then as you sort of got to 17, 18 years old, then you start going in like in the morning. You sort of don't go through the college system, the education system. You go through the professional system. So you do sort of get your education provided by the club, but the focus then at 17 years old is becoming a professional footballer. Um,
Okay, so is this the academy that you were talking about?
yeah, still the
With,
academy, still the same institution, still the same organisation at Rotherham United.
so they teach both like just normal educational academic subjects as well as football.
Yeah,
So and what age did you join that?
that just carries on. So as you get to sort of 17 years old, you then filter into that
So
system. So
just
it's a bit like an institution.
oh, you filtered into that system at 17, but you were like were you doing that earlier? I mean, or were you in
Uh,
school?
Not really, because you sort of leave school and then you go into what's called a scholarship, which is you sort of classed as a professional footballer and the education as well. And then you do a 2-year scholarship and then you go into the professional side where you're just solely a professional footballer.
Okay, and was that an exciting time in your life?
It were. I mean, I can't really say much about the education side, but the football side
No.
was good.
Yeah,
But no, like I say, it's an interesting journey because you wake up in the morning, you're going into a football club, you
yeah.
do 2 hours worth of lessons, rest of the day you're playing football
Wow.
because the end goal is to make you a professional footballer.
But you're supposed to be all day playing football, and like I suppose you get a lot of feedback. Like they film it and they analyse it, and they say, "Oh, you should have been over there," and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very intense. And I know a lot of people that have sort of dropped out at that stage when the nutrition comes in, the wellness comes in, the analysis comes in. It's very, very intense. And it's not just a case of you go training for an hour a day and then you go home and like what the media perception is of footballers, the actual reality is far from that.
So it's physically grueling as well. A lot of like
Yeah,
exercise to build up your stamina and so on.
yeah,
And I mean,
absolutely.
I imagine it's a bit like being in the army or something like that.
No,
And
definitely,
yeah,
definitely. I think at sort of 17, 18, your body's still developing.
sure.
Uh, but you are still, it is a little bit like baby steps. I mean, if you look at my face now, I'm still relatively, still 12, 13 years old.
Right.
So my body at 17, 18 was still, it wasn't as developed as other 17, 18 years old within football clubs.
Right. Okay. And in that time, were you like you're representing Rotherham in their sort of youth matches? Were you and like playing with other teams of sort of similar standard? Is there's
Yeah,
like there's a league presumably for children? Is there?
yeah. So you're playing against other people your age, against other football clubs. So you're playing against the likes of Manchester United, Leicester City, the big, well-known football clubs against their youth teams.
Yeah.
Uh, so from the age of sort of 15, 16 years old, then you start to get the agents coming to matches, wanting to represent you, trying to pick up the next big thing, so to speak.
Right. Okay. So so the youth things are only up to a certain age, are they? Like age 21 or age 18 or
Yeah, so typically up to about the age of 18, and then it would
18?
go into what was at the time a reserves, and then the
Right.
first. But now I think it's now the under 21s, under 23s first team. So I've just changed a bit of the terminology since I was a
Yeah. So the natural progression would be someone like that would tend to stay in Rotherham in the reserves teams to different age brackets, unless they
yeah,
get picked up by another scout and get transferred to another team. And
yeah,
that's where the agent comes in to try and help that happen.
yeah, pretty much. So the standard system would be you go through the academies, into the scholarships, into the youth team, into the reserves, into the first team. That would be the generic route.
And
Not
so many, you've rubbed shoulders with many people who've gone down that route and are still there, still in that system.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. So what happened to you? So how did you come to leave Rotherham? What happened?
So my dream was always to play in Spain. Um,
Right. Why was that?
I don't know, just Spanish football. A little bit towards the way that I play football as well. It's not the standard English philosophy.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I just sort of fell in love with the Spanish football, with Barcelona, Real Madrid, Valencia, Atletico Madrid. So
Right.
my was always to go play there. But when I looked at the way that I played football, it wasn't the way that Rotherham United plays football. So me sort of preempting what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years' time, I knew
So,
that
so, 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 okay. So, what's the difference then? How do they play? I mean, I just see people kicking around a ball, and I just assume it's. I mean, I know that some cultures are maybe a bit more aggressive.
yeah,
Is that what you mean?
yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So, for example, I've just been mentioning like when you look at the way that my body developed, I couldn't compete physically with the 30-year-olds. Just the way that, like I said, my body's built. So
Right.
for me, it's more technical, it's more slower. The ball's on the floor, where Rotherham United is very direct. The ball's in the air, you've got to compete for headers. It's a very, very physically
Oh,
grueling.
okay. That's interesting. Yeah. So it fits more certain body type. Yeah.
Absolutely. In my
Okay.
opinion, there's other
Yeah. Yeah.
people will agree with that, but in my opinion, I knew that I couldn't compete with, like I say,
Sure.
the 35-year-old. If the
Yeah.
ball's in the air, I compete physically, not a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 25 years old now, I still couldn't compete with a 35-year-old. So
Right.
at 17, I got absolutely no chance.
Sure.
But Spain, when you look at the European style, the European philosophies, that was more suited to where I play. If you look at just for generics, the anatomy of the players, they're a lot smaller, physically less developed, which
Because
suited my
and
style a
it
bit
says
better.
like it's more technical, and they keep the
Yeah,
ball lower near the ground and that sort of
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So, like I say, my dream was always to play in Spain. So, whenever I worked with an agent, like I say, I worked with 2 or 3, 4 different agents. The end goal was always to be, you have to get me to Spain.
Right.
I want to play in La Liga. So I sat down with one of the agents that I was with at the time, and we looked at the options that was available for me. We had an option to extend at Rotherham United. We looked at that and thought, is it really worth it if in my opinion, I haven't got a future
Yeah.
there? So the options were for me at the time were Germany, France, Italy, a Scandinavian country, I think might be in Finland, and Malta.
Oh, Malta. Really?
Yeah, so the financially, Malta just outweighed every other offer.
Oh.
So I decided to go to Malta on a
Oh.
two-year contract.
Did you?
Uh, so what the club said, bear in mind I was still 18 years old at the time. I'd never
Yeah.
lived away from home. I lived 20 minutes away from Rotherham United, so I could commute there every morning. So
Right.
in Malta was fantastic, and basically just said, this is the offer. It's a two-year contract. These are all the terms. Come out for 2 weeks. If you can settle away from home, if you can settle with the culture, the language, everything else, then sign the two-year contract after you've been out and experienced it for a couple of weeks. So that's what I did.
So you lived in
So
Malta for 2 years.
well, this is where it all
Okay.
took. So I flew out on the Friday morning,
Yeah.
and the season was meant to start on the Monday. So I had sort of 3 days to acclimatise and get used to the surroundings. I flew out in the morning on the Friday before. I'd done my medical with the club on the Friday afternoon. So Friday evening came, and I don't know if I was nervous, apprehensive, just excited, but I couldn't sleep on the Friday evening. So I thought we're a little bit jet lagged. So I'll go for a run on the beach, come back, have something to eat, get an early night. So anyway, I'd gone for a run on the beach, which luckily I lived on the beach in the apartment that the club put me in. And about 10 minutes into the run, my knees given way in the sand. I
Oh
don't know,
no.
but there is no beach. It's all pebbles.
Right.
So
Sure.
and I've hobbled back to the apartment and just excruciating pain.
Oh God.
So when I got back, my knees swollen up like a football. So I put some ice on it that night. I've gone to sleep, woke up the morning after exactly the same. So I've gone down to the doctor at the football club on the Saturday morning. Bear in mind, this is 2 days before the first training session, and said, "Look, I think I've been bitten by a mosquito during the night. Just look at my knee."
Yeah.
Anyway, he says, "That's not a mosquito bite." He said, "Let's get you in for an MRI scan." So anyway, I've gone for an X-ray. She come back about 3 hours later and said, Reece, it must have been a big mosquito because it's ruptured your meniscus.
Wow.
Which basically means, so I said to her, well, what does that mean? He said, well, basically, you aren't playing football for at least 8 months.
Wow.
It's going to need a full rehabilitation. I've then gone to the chairman in Malta. The doctors have gone to the chairman in Malta and said, look, this is what's happened during the night. He's ruptured his meniscus. I've then had to come clean with the story. I've gone for a run on the beach.
So that was literally from running on the beach, on the pebbled beach. It was just like a really unlucky accident. Could have happened to anyone, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All because I couldn't sleep that night.
Right.
So anyway, the chairman in Malta then turned around and said, we are not paying you this amount of money.
Sure.
If you're not playing for us for 8 months.
Yeah.
So then I've come back. I've got an agent to pay. I've got no football club. I can't play football for 8 months.
Wow.
I'm not institutionalized in terms of work anywhere else. I'm not being college. All I've known is football.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've still got an agent to pay.
Yeah.
I had no income. So anyway, I've come back to England, done the rehab, and then thought, right, the way that the agents are doing it currently, in my opinion, the whole system can be streamlined, can be revolutionized. So then come back and thought, right, okay. The agent that I worked with was unbelievable, and he's still one of my best friends. He actually works for my company now. I sort of come back, done the rehab. Like I say, a lot of my friends then still played professional football. So what I thought was, I'd completely fallen out of love with football at this point. The rehab was horrible. The politics, the fact that someone can get rid of you just because you're injured. I didn't know politics behind it. So then I thought, right, okay, let's set up my own company. Let's represent players. Let's give them better advice than what maybe I was given at the time.
Yeah.
And then help them with that transition. Because my agent basically told me, get on a plane to Malta. Someone will pick you up. His name will be Miguel. He'll take you. I don't know who I'm getting in the car with when I get to Malta.
Sure.
So the whole aftercare, the whole welfare, the whole transition period was just faulted, in my opinion.
Right.
So, like I said, done the rehab, then said to Luke, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop playing football. I'm going to help the players do the journey that I've just gone through.
Yeah. So
the plan was for me to represent some of the friends that I'd come through the football. Like I said, they're playing now in the Premier League, in the Championship, in League One. So anyway, I'd gone down to an Arsenal versus Chelsea match. This is while I'm still going through rehab.
Yeah.
So one of the specialists that I was seeing was in London. So I travelled down to London from Leeds, gone to an Arsenal versus Chelsea match, and under 21s.
Yeah.
Arsene Wenger. Just ended up speaking to him.
How can you just go to a match and end up bumping into Arsene Wenger? I mean, how did that happen?
So when you go to a football match, the friends, the families, the agents are all locked away into a certain room.
Oh, okay.
So you're sort of in that bubble then with other managers, scouts, the parents, the families.
Yeah.
So anyway, in this room was Arsene Wenger, so I ended up speaking to him.
Yeah.
Really less than a 5-minute conversation. One of the things that he said to me were, I don't even know how we got onto this, but one of the things that this is the only thing I remember him telling me, that 5-minute conversation. Women's football will be the next big thing.
So what year was that? When did he say that to you?
Were 3 years ago. So from me then, I watched the second half. I cannot even remember what the score of the match were.
Yeah.
All I remember were just this one sentence that Arsene Wenger said, women's football is a big thing.
Right.
So then driving back from London back up to Leeds, I then phoned Luke, who was my agent, who now works for me, and said, Luke, the plans that we've just had for the last 6 months in terms of representing players that I know, we're going into women's football. So the whole of the next sort of 4, 5, 6 months while I'm carrying on and doing rehab, me and Luke just absolutely studied women's football from top to bottom. We did our homework on agents, the game, the finances, the commercial side, the infrastructure. We studied it. We left no stone unturned. What we did, we then created a brand, which was Next Gen Sports. We marketed it as a specialist female sports management company. Didn't have any players, didn't have any contacts. I knew very little in terms of connections.
Right.
Knew the game from what I'd studied. And I knew the game from the men's side, from the journey that I'd gone through.
Yeah.
And within this 4, 5, 6 month period of just literally just having a brand, and nothing inside the brand, just marketing a brand.
Yeah.
We must have had 60, 70 players email, contact through social media, phones, and saying, "I've seen this Next Gen Sports, you're coming into women's football. Would you be interested in representing me?" In that 4-month period, when we've got 70 people coming to us, we knew there was a massive gap in the market.
Okay, so these are they're women, are they? Female,
Yeah, female
women and girls. So they so do you work exclusively with women or just?
Yeah, well, exclusively we look after one male footballer who
Okay,
one of my friends, which but
sure.
as a brand we work exclusively with females.
With women and girls, like all
Uh,
ages.
17 years plus.
17 plus. Okay.
Yeah.
So are some of them working professionally as footballers at the moment, or some just want to get into it?
I would say probably a 50-50 split. 50% of professionals, 50% are on
And
the way.
and how did they like discover your site through social
Yeah,
media? Yeah.
yeah. It's simply because when we looked, one of the market research were there was about 4 or 5 agents in women's football.
Yeah.
Or you've got over 5,000, but only 3 or 4 or 5 in women's football.
Wow.
So you look there and you think there's a huge scope for potential. Simply because the finances weren't there 3 years ago in women's football.
Yeah.
But you looked at like the media equality, the drive, the commercial, the revenue side of women's football. Every year it was going up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
It's now looked at now. It's now got broadcasting rights on BT. It's on BBC every Sunday, on most Sundays. So we went in at the perfect time 3 years ago.
Right. Okay. So you've and also there's this other thing, the-wsa.co.uk.
Yeah, the Women's Sports Alliance. So one of the things that we noticed were in women's football, the protection and the membership. Sorry, not the membership, the protection for female footballers. So a female footballer is more than 3 times at risk of knee injuries simply because of the body shape. The hips are wider.
Wow.
And not one football club 3 years ago, to my knowledge, gave anything such as private medical insurance. And then you looked at my journey with my knee.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't have the correct procedures. If I'd have had private medical insurance, that 8 months probably would have turned into a 3-month recovery process.
Right.
There was nothing. So we came in with the Women's Sports Alliance to protect female footballers. A little bit like a union, but not a union. We're more of an exclusive membership club for elite level footballers to make sure that they have got that protection off the field.
Oh, okay. So there's 2 different sides of a business, is there?
Yes.
One is this, which is providing medical insurance and other things to like a larger group of people, and the other is representing as an agent.
Yeah, it's 2 completely different companies.
Yeah.
The Women's Sports Alliance, we're not an insurance company. We work with insurance companies.
Yeah.
We just make sure that the players are protected off the field, whether that's going for a mortgage, whether that's getting car insurance, because as soon as you phone a car insurance company, you tell them you're a professional footballer, your insurance goes up from £1,000 a year to £10,000 a year just because you're a professional footballer. And the media, the stigma with professional footballers, they're all driving Ferrari. It's so little things like that. So we work with the right people to make sure that our members have the right protection off the field.
Okay. Is one of the reasons loss of income? Is that because the loss of income for a footballer if they have an injury, it'd be much more than for someone else. So that's one of the reasons why the premiums are so high. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So you look at men's footballs, and if you look at the average Premier League wage, I think it's £4 million a year.
Yeah.
In women's football, the average is probably 15, 16, 17,000 pound a year. So you do a knee injury, you're out for 8 months, your contract gets terminated. How are you going to pay your mortgage? How are you going to pay for your rent?
Yeah.
Still got £5 million in your bank because you're a Premier League men's footballer.
Sure.
So making sure the female footballers have got adequate protection should anything go wrong.
Yeah.
But we needed to do it 3 years ago.
Okay. All right. So you brought us up to present time. This is what you're doing at the moment. So okay, that's great. So well, it's what I like to do now. I've got, if I could just share my screen and we can have a look at some of your, like, your websites and so on, and also just some of your competitors and that sort of thing to see what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll just share my screen. There you go. So this is your Next Gen Sport.
Yeah.
This is co-owned with you and Jordan Gard.
Yeah.
Okay. And does she have a background herself as a footballer, or?
Yeah, so Jordan Gard's a Welsh international. She's played for Cardiff, played for Yeovil. Jordan Gard actually subcontracted to me. She did all the media work for our clients, and just unbelievable at what she did. And I worked with her for about 7 months, just absolutely blown away. So then made her an offer of coming on board as a director of the company.
Okay, and a stake in the business as well. So,
Yeah.
okay, that's great. And so, did you say that you're also on social media?
Yes, on Twitter and
Because I couldn't. Because do you have links here? On
is there some at the bottom? I don't know.
I couldn't see. No, I couldn't see any. So, okay, so I know you personally are on Twitter, aren't you?
I'm personally on it, yes.
So is Next Gen Sports? So apart from that, is Next Gen Sports on any other kind of social media?
Yeah, just Twitter and Instagram. They're the only two that we.
Are you on Instagram as well? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
this one. Oh no, that's the WSA. So and you are on. This is you. This is your own personal site, isn't it?
Yeah, so it should be a link at the top. Yeah, founder and managing director of Next Gen Sports.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So this is right. 1,000 followers. Okay. So you said you acquired these 70 female footballers from social media. So is it from Instagram you got them, would you say?
No. This is from the players would phone us. Word of mouth for us is
Word of
huge.
mouth. It's really word of mouth, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but this sort of, so the reason you have this Instagram thing, is that to like sort of reinforce your brand or somehow? So
Yeah, just basically just to let people know what we're doing as a brand, what we're doing for women's sports in general. I think majority of social media is just there for marketing anyway. So anything that can help us, help our clients, then.
okay, so it's just like when you do something, or when one of your clients does something, like Rosie's back in training today, you sort of post it on there just to. So it's partly to help your clients as well, give them a bit more visibility.
Yeah, pretty much. I think in terms of the industry that we're in, I think without sounding too arrogant, I think everyone knows who we are as a brand. So in terms of marketing us specifically, that's not our primary focus. Our primary focus is to market the clients that we represent rather than us as a brand. And naturally, when we're representing and marketing our clients, we're also marketing ourselves as well.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you market yourself basically through, by marketing your clients, because but that's part of what they pay you for, to market them, and
Absolutely.
but it helps you, because as they get better known, and people will say, oh well, how did you get that contract, or and then they say, oh, it's because my agent and that sort of thing. So it's naturally word of mouth, just by basically doing a good job. Right. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look just there on the Instagram page, on the third one down, just that one.
That one.
That was a deal that we negotiated several weeks ago. Again, completely revolutionary for women's sports. Where Shan's, oh no, it was the one underneath it actually. Shan's just got a 4-year commercial glove sponsor.
This is the one underneath that one.
No, is it that one? No, it'll be one underneath that one. Sorry, the one with the gloves, I'm guessing.
The brand new Precision Elite 2.0 gloves. Say no more. Wear Next Gen.
It may maybe one underneath that one.
So you're just like product placement. You're just advertising the glove. That one?
No. Not that one either. I can't remember which one it were.
Okay,
So,
so it's,
but yeah. So anyway, it was a deal that we negotiated, a 4-year commercial deal, never been done before in women's sports. So we've done that for our client Sian Rogers, also for the brand as well that we've partnered her with. But because we've negotiated that deal, we are sort of getting a little bit of exposure through us. But the primary focus on our marketing is for our clients.
okay, so tell me about that deal. So it's 4 years, and Sian Rogers. So what does it involve?
So Sian Rogers is she's the Aston Villa goalkeeper. She's also an England international. The glove teals, she's a goalkeeper, so she gets all 3 gloves from the brand. It's one of the leading brands in terms of goalkeeper gloves globally. Typically, a glove deal would be 12 months. And the fact that we've done a 4-year glove deal just shows the longevity of women's sports. It shows a commercial side in the direction that it's going into. But again, like I say, it's a deal that we've negotiated, but the marketing side of that would be promoting the deal for Sian and Precision.
Okay, so she gets paid for wearing these gloves for 4 years.
Yeah, so there's different incentives as part of the contract, but the main deal would be she would get 3 products for the next 4 years. So whenever she needs any football gloves, and bear in mind they might be £100 a pair, and if she needs 20 pairs next season, £2,000 over 4 years. So you're looking at that. It's an £8,000. You're just using rough figures here. An £8,000 endorsement deal for women's sports. Again, it's not really something that you would see that much to do such a long-term endorsement deal.
Okay, so she's paid in terms of with gloves mainly. That's the main part of the thing. Okay, basically 3 gloves. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so and hopefully you can get similar deals like that for your other clients as well.
Yeah, so we've got probably 16, 17, 18 different deals similar to that one. Typically, again, they only last sort of 12 or 18 months. So the fact that we've done a 4-year one, again, it's just a way that we can revolutionise things. It shows us that's now coming into women's sports, the finances as well, the more corporates that are wanting to get involved in women's sports. So it's a good time to be involved.
Okay, so and I think you said they're on the BBC every week, or pretty much. They have a foot. But so does that inject a lot of money into this sport?
I don't know, if I'm being honest. I don't see the finances on that side of things.
No.
Hopefully, it would be disappointing if the FA are giving women's sports out free of charge to broadcasters.
Yeah. It was really because I remember it's when Sky started broadcasting football and charging premium rates for Sky Sports. That was what injected a lot of money into the men's for football industry.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you work like exclusively with footballers, or do you help other athletes as well?
We work across different sports. Rugby being one of them. We don't do too much. My knowledge on rugby, I'll be honest, is non-existent.
Okay.
But again, so one of the things that I'm quite keen of is to surround myself as a company owner with people that are experts in their field. So my knowledge on rugby is non-existent. So if I can bring someone in that can offer expert knowledge, it's better for our brand than me trying to learn rugby and then sort of work bottom up. But yeah, we work in rugby, but our bread and butter really is football.
So rugby, like female rugby players?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea that existed. Interesting. Okay. So this is an article about you, and then I searched for that, and then I just looked at different sports agents, and I found that this is a elite sports agency. That would be one that's got a female football player up there. So are you familiar with these people?
I've heard of them.
I don't know. I'm just sort of looking at some of your competition, but look, there's a woman, isn't it, signing a new contract. So they seem to be targeting now female um, footballers as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you look at their website there, if you scroll down to the bottom, when we say competitors, I think we need to we just need to be strong here in terms of what we deem as a competitor. A competitor
Yes.
would be someone that primarily focuses on women's football,
Right.
not represent male footballers as well. I don't I don't see many companies out there that just primarily focus on women's football. Simply because, let me just put this into perspective. An agent, let's just say an agent charges, we'll say 5%.
Yeah.
And if you've got a male player that's on £1 million a year, you're looking at about £50,000 a year that an agent would get. In women's football, if you've got a player on £20,000 a year and you're doing 5%, you're getting
Yeah.
1,000. Yeah. So
Yeah.
finance agents tend to gravitate towards men's football.
Yeah.
I don't see many people out there doing what we're doing, where we just primarily focus on women's football. I don't know if they do or not, to be honest. I don't know too much about them.
So, isn't it tempting? Isn't it tempting to you to have to develop also a sort of men's side of your business if you can earn all this extra money?
Yeah, I think you will see us in men's football at some point.
Okay.
But for us at the moment, we've built a brand that's arguably one of, if not the most recognised sports management company
Yes.
in for female football. So if we then deviate towards men's football, are we going to then lose that status as this reputation in women's football? You know, I'd rather be the biggest and the best in women's football
Okay.
rather than one of 5,000 in men's football.
I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because I know that in any business, there's this thing about niching down, telling people to specialize in one thing. But so I can see the logic of that. But does it say here that you see, just looking at your website, just spending like a few seconds looking at it, I know that in the small print, if I read it, it probably mentions, the FA Women's Super League, but there's nothing. But that's on your About Us page, looking at homepage. It's not okay. If you look, it's not obvious that it's not immediately obvious to me anyway that it's for women. I mean, I would like if you look at the other one, they had photos of women right at the
Yeah.
top on the first page. So if that's a major part of your branding, I think that's something I'd encourage you to do. I know you've gone down here, but
Yeah, no. To be honest, I think if anyone that would go onto our website would be a female footballer, because they are the only people really that would follow our account on social media, where the majority of our traffic comes from.
they just already know anyway about it.
Yeah, I think the power of the brand in our sector and our industry would sort of I think people would know. It is a good point, but I will pass it on to our marketing team. So thank you.
I'm just wondering if I was like a female footballer, and I knew that you already had 70 people and that you were doing a really good job. I don't think it would necessarily put me off to know that you also had like a division that also did men's football. It could be like a different website, or something like that. So it could be. And it's just as the numbers you said of like 4 million a year compared with like 20,000. It's just like just to get one or two men, would just be you could just do really well out of it. So
No,
I would be tempted.
no.
to,
Honestly, it's a question what I get asked. Honestly, every single
yeah.
day. I'll be honest with you, it is tempting, but I think in sort of my personal opinion here, this is something that some people do tend to get confused with. I would say in business, I find a lot of people that I speak to that are starting in business want to become the next Elon Musk or the next Mark
Yeah.
Zuckerberg, want to be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
And I actually spoke to a business owner last week that we just talked about corporate finances, and he said that, yeah, you know, I'm only turning over 3 million. Last year I only made £300,000 profit. We should really be making. I thought, hold on, £300,000 profit in the middle of a global pandemic
Yeah.
isn't a bad situation to be in.
That's
So I think, I think there seems to be this perception that everyone wants to be a multi-billionaire, and
yeah.
a company that's only doing, I don't know, £250,000 turnover isn't successful when really probably is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you're sort of happy for the moment anyway, sort of staying to doing what you're doing and everything, and just picking up more female players and growing
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. Every year on year, women's football is only going in one direction financially.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
really every year, and I think when we started maybe 3 years ago, players may have been earning on average £10,000 a year. Now they're earning on average 25,000, and that's in 3 years.
All right,
So,
so it's more than
so
doubled in 3 years.
exactly. So in 3 years' time, if we're doubling it again, it may be tripling. The more media attention, more media presence, more media pressure for equality. I said we need to retain our status as the biggest and the best in Europe.
Right, so that's what you are, the biggest and the best in Europe.
In my opinion.
So you work with other countries as well?
Yeah, we work globally. We've got players in about 8 different countries. We've got offices. We've got 3 offices now, all based in the UK. Again, we started 3 years ago with me and Luke. We now got a team of about 8 people, 3 offices. So financially, like you just said, there is money in women's football.
Yeah.
We say if you do things right, and the brand is good enough.
So you've got 3 offices in the UK, and you also work with people in other countries. But obviously it must be a lot harder in another country because you might not have contacts in that country, and the law might be different, and then you've got the language issues as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention the tax and insurance.
Yeah.
Everything's different. So wouldn't it be more sensible for someone in those countries to have an agent in that country, right?
Yes and no. It depends what the quality of agents are like in, let's say, Spain, for example.
Okay.
Majority of players that I know in England in men's football have agents from Belgium or Switzerland or Italy.
Right.
A lot of players don't have agents based in the country that they reside in.
That's interesting. That's okay. And I can imagine also if you're like English working in Malta or Spain or something, you might trust an English agent more just because the language is better, the same culture and everything. So they might they might something like health insurance might be common in the UK but not in those countries and things like that.
You did hit the nail on the head as well in terms of the governance, the tax laws, the employment law in every country. We're lucky we work with one of the best global sports law firms. So any questions that we've got, any questions that our clients have got, they've got expert knowledge in that field in terms whether that's employment law, tax law, anything. It might be a work permit, a visa. We've got a team of experts that the players can turn to.
Okay, so in terms of expanding your business, so obviously you want to always open to picking up new female clients, and also you're also looking for sponsorship deals. So for people who might want to give you free gloves or give your players free gloves. But are there other sorts of sponsorship deals? Because sometimes if you have a contract with a football club, might they have some sort of exclusivity about not allowing you to do your own sponsorship deals and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. For example, if a football club sponsored by Nike, it may prevent the players from wearing Under Armour or Puma or.
Yeah. Well, is that at all times or just when they're on the?
I would say 8% of the times.
Really?
8% of the times in terms of clubs. If for example Celtic, I've just partnered with Adidas, I believe. None of the players can wear anything other than Adidas, even away from the club.
Right.
So again, for us, we do have to jump through hoops at times, but
sure.
But at the end of the day, the player's in an employment contract with the club, so we have to respect that.
Okay, so if there's, I mean, there might be someone watching this who might say, yeah, I fancy that. I might fancy getting a sort of female footballer to promote my product or something. So then you'd be open to that sort of deal, would you?
I can hand on heart say, if we don't charge any fees. If you wanted to work with one of our clients, we would charge no fees from us as a company.
Right.
The main investment from you would probably be the amount of product, let's say, or service or time that you would invest with a player. Let's just say you're selling a hair product. If you want to supply the player with £200 worth of product over a course of 12 months, one delivery every month worth £10, I can guarantee you would at least double your return on investment in women's football. I can guarantee it.
Okay, so yeah, so these are examples. So if someone gave you this hair product, gave the player the hair product, how would the people find out about it? Would you promote them? Would the player promote this product, or how would it work?
Yeah, so the player would endorse the product if the player's happy with the product.
Yes. So
And
they'd
then,
put it on their own personal Instagram page, you mean, stuff
yeah,
like
so
that? Yeah.
social media, word of mouth is massive in women's football. If a girl walks in with a new hair product into a changing room of 30 other female footballers, I can
Yeah.
guarantee at the end of that day, 6 of the other players will want to buy it. It's an
Interesting.
unbelievable. It's a fantastic industry for commercial and for endorsement side of things. Like I said, I can guarantee anyone that puts £200, £500, £1,000 in, I can guarantee in 12 months you will you will increase your return of investment in women's
And
sports.
what about clothing? Do you say
Clothing, another one. We're quite lucky in terms of clothing. We've actually got a waiting list on our PSL in terms of clothing brands that are wanting to work with us. But yeah, anything in terms of that, anything really.
So do you work with okay, so you say you've got a waiting list, but so have you got one brand particularly that you work with clothing? No.
No. We work with different ones, but we must get 2 messages a day from
It's just
new
so many, just getting
clothing brands.
so much that
Yeah, wanting help. Can we send a T-shirt out? Can we send a pair of trainers out? And get some social. We get at least 2 a day.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, surely the answer must be, just increase the sort of boundary. Say, well, you have to send a certain quantity before we would say
No,
yes.
absolutely. Something that we don't want to do as well is have 70 players and then 40 of them every single day are promoting this. It looks a little bit cheap. For me, it will bring the industry
Right.
down.
Yeah.
If we can just work with sort of 5 across 70 players, but work with 5 brands that we believe have got massive potential.
Okay.
One of the areas that we don't sort of work with in terms of brand partners is CBD, and for me,
Cannabis, you mean?
yeah. So the CBD oils.
Okay.
I don't know what else you can get. For me, it's such a grey area. For me as a company owner, and I wouldn't want any of my players to endorse a product and then something to come back on a drugs test. I'm not saying that it would.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But my lack of knowledge on that sector
Sure.
is something that we will not touch. And again, it's something that we get loads and loads of brands contacting us saying, can we work with one of your players to endorse our new CBD oil?
It's interesting. Wow.
It must be a huge marketplace, the cannabis oil and the CBD.
Yeah.
Just from the amount of inquiries that we get, there's
And I'm
loads of
surprised. I mean, yeah, I mean, if I was a CBD this marketing company, I wouldn't have necessarily thought about getting sports people to promote it. But maybe it's to counter the idea, most people have that, makes you tired and lethargic and that sort of thing. But that's it. So most of your deals are to do with things like clothing, hair products, fashion, stuff like that, is it? Is that what most?
Yes, skincare. We've got. What else have we got? We've got food products. We have just general necessities for female athletes, whether that's sanitary towels. So we work with companies that do like that side of things. But again, we just send out free stuff to our clients. We work with the likes of Mercedes, Porsche.
You work with Porsche?
We work with Porsche and Mercedes.
So how come? So what? How does that work then?
So we'll use Mercedes as an example
Yeah.
because we had the deal yesterday, and anyone that's signed with us and represented by us gets exclusive discounts from any of the providers that I've just mentioned, the manufacturers.
Okay.
So yesterday, one of our players, I think she saved 9,500 just on a brand new Mercedes.
Right. Okay. So they get a discount, and in return, they would endorse Mercedes in some way, would they? What the?
Yeah. So they get an exclusive lease deal. So for 2 years, they wouldn't be able to be seen driving any other cars,
Oh, really?
just for general stuff like that. But in return, they would get quite a hefty discount.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So it's interesting to me that the sponsorship things, it's like free products and stuff or discounts. It's not hard cash so much. They don't pay you a fee for.
Not really. No, it tends to be just for free products. Which, to be honest, that's actually what the girls prefer. That's actually what the men prefer as well. The male footballers, they don't want the hassle of having to buy boots every 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not saying it's a hassle, but to a footballer that would be deemed as a hassle.
Right.
They'd rather just have 2 pair of boots every week sent out to them without even asking.
Okay. And you don't take, so if someone does a sponsorship deal like that, you don't take a cut of the actual deal. Is so you
No.
do that bit for free because you're basically that's covered by the general income you get from all your clients paying you to
Yeah,
present
yeah,
them as part of the service you provide.
yeah. I do know 2 or 3 of our competitors that do charge £500 setup fees for things like
Right.
that. But for us, it just comes part of the service.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just wondering if you could expand that side of your marketing. Well, you said you didn't want to come over as too cheesy or commercialize it too much. So I presume that's the reason you don't do that. But
Yeah, the thing is, we're trying to, in our marketplace, we are seen as like I say, arguably the market leader. So we try to work with other industry market leaders like Mercedes, like Porsche.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but then again, we're still very, very new in business. I'm only 3 years into my business life, and a lot of me does want to help the new clothing companies, the new food companies, the
yeah,
new companies, because if people didn't help me 3 years ago,
sure.
you know, but we have to get that balance right. When we've got Porsche or a new startup clothing company, we
Yeah,
tend to gravitate towards Porsche
because of the money.
because of the brand identity that
The
Porsche
brand
brings.
identity,
Yeah,
it's a big. It enhances your brand as well, and the player's brand to be associated with them.
yeah, absolutely. And something that we would try and incorporate into that brand partnership would be an exclusive deal on their side as well. So if we're partners with Mercedes, it stops them from working with other sports management companies in our industry.
Oh,
So again, it's a way for us to not close down the market, but enhance our reach and our exposure in our sector.
okay. So so it's a whole different set of things going on. One is that you help your clients get contracts, you get a cut in that, you help represent them, get these deals, which like give them free stuff, and presumably you're also always on the lookout to try and get them transfer deals to get transferred to a better club with more income as well. So you're in contact with other sort of scouts and working for other teams. Are you talking to them and or manage?
Yeah, so we speak to every club regular every 2 3 weeks. We just
Really?
have a chat with a football club. So we constantly know in January, in the next transfer window, next summer, what they're going to be looking for. So we can try and stay one step ahead.
I'll try and get someone sort of you know what they're looking for, and you try and sort of look around and see who would be right for that role that you've got, and then try and put them forward and try and get a deal for them. Yeah,
Mm.
that's great. So are they the main sides to your business then? Those like three things.
Yeah, so we're a sports management company. So our bread and butter is in negotiating, whether that's on a contract, on an employment contract, a commercial contract,
Yeah.
a loan deal, everything else that we offer in terms of like our infrastructure, like for example, the sports law, the corporate law, the employment law that we offer, the mental health support, that just comes as part of the service. But I'm a football agent. We're a sports management company.
Yeah, yeah.
We're here to negotiate deals.
Sure. And you mentioned mental health support. I mean, I imagine it must bring a whole lot of different stresses and challenges, just being sort of so high profile and having, being on the BBC and people knowing who you are and stuff, especially with social media. So that was one of the things you sort of help out with.
Yeah, it's something else again 3 years ago that there weren't much, if any, mental health support systems in place for female footballers. For me,
Mm,
that's something that we changed the day after we came in. We came and
right.
said it needs to be paramount in our infrastructure. We need to make sure that all our clients have someone to turn to, have
Yeah.
someone they can speak to away from the football club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for me, that should have been in there from the get go, from the
Sure.
football club side. But it wasn't 3 years ago, or it weren't that present 3 years ago.
Sure.
But for us, it's massive in terms of what we do as a brand to make sure that again, our clients have that support system and the right people, the experts around them to turn to.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds great. It sounds really important. So, okay, well, so we're coming up to time. I know you're very busy, so I don't want to keep you too long. So, yeah, is there anything else you want to say before we wind up?
I think so. Just thank you for having me on. Thank you
Okay.
for your
Well, thank you for coming on. It's just been, I I don't know. You might have guessed that I don't know that much about football, but I have learnt a lot, and especially about the business side of it. I had no idea all these sort of things went on, and so it's been fascinating for me as well. Okay, thanks a lot and best of luck to your business and everything. And I hope that a lot of aspiring female footballers watch this and book you as their agent and go on to great and wonderful things.
Thank you very much.
Okay, cheers.